Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today from the Fitchburg Fire Department is my favorite friend, Mark Malekish. How you doing? Don't tell all the others that you're my favorite.
It's between you and me. I'm well. How
And
are you?
you out there. I'm doing good. Hey, we got a serious topic today. I've asked you to kind of dial back to something we've talked about actually a little bit earlier this year. We had a little bit of severe weather talk ahead of severe weather. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of severe weather this year, and pretty significant storms at that. Given all of that, I thought we could circle back just on a few key items that I'm seeing across the state of Wisconsin as key areas of other departments sharing out information, plus Wisconsin Emergency Management sharing out information on this, but talking about between flooding and some severe weather, post-severe weather incidents. So first, we'll just start on the flooding side of things. When it comes to flooding, you know, we get the terms turn around, don't drown is kind of the famous piece there. But when we really look at it from a fire department standpoint or rescuers having to go out and deal in these situations, these are dangerous situations. And it may not look like it when you're looking at it, but it's the unknown that's really the scary part of flooding.
Yeah, they sure are. So, anecdotally, my kids ask me, "What does that mean, Dad? Turn around, don't drown," because both are drivers. And I says, when that water starts to rush over the road, you just don't know what's in there. You might have driven that road any number of times, right? But how do you know that the water hasn't eaten away at the surface? There's now a big pothole, or has washed something into it, or is deep enough to, really hinder the movement of your car, or, you, if you're in there, right? It does not take much for moving water to really take a car off of its wheels and push it into something that may be dangerous, very dangerous.
In fact, 6 inches of fast-moving water can sweep somebody off their feet.
Yep, absolutely.
Which you're thinking 6 inches of water moving? Really?
As an avid fly fisherman in moving streams, I can vouch for that. None of it's on camera, of course, but I can certainly vouch for the strength of the water current.
So let's talk about the unthinkable. You're in a vehicle and you drive in for whatever reason. You thought it was going to be fine, and it's not. Your vehicle shuts off, and now you're stuck in the vehicle. And whether it's taking on weather, whether it's not. And again, I know this is hypothetical, which we don't generally get down the road and doing, but and even if you're a bystander too watching this, do you get in the water?
A
lot of questions there, Mark.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with that one. Thanks. The first rule, I guess, or thing that I'll say is never put yourself in danger, right? So you come along, you see a car out there, and the car's having trouble in water. It's tough. It's got to be tough to sit there and see something and not be able to go help, right? Everybody wants to help. The best thing you can do is call 911. But don't put yourself in danger, because what that does is that puts potentially two victims out there that we have to, either extricate from the water, or it sort of doubles the challenge for us, right? If you're in the car and you find the car surrounded, if you're able, dial 911. So long as the water is not coming up into the car, I would say stay put in the car. If the water appears like it's approaching the car, I can't imagine a scenario like that. I've not been through one myself, but I would say roll your windows up and be sure you're dialing 911 so that we can get there as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I would automatically, instinct might be to get on the roof of the vehicle, but you just don't know if the vehicle is going to get swept away. And I think, every scenario, it can be really different and challenging, but I think ultimately, if you can and able to get somebody going, rescue-wise, you guys have the tools and the know-how. It might take a little bit of time figuring out the plan on how to get out there and do it, but
in every emergency, whether it's a high water emergency or otherwise, the faster we're notified, the faster we can activate and get moving and start working out whatever the solution is going to be.
Other case scenario that can prove devastating too is you get big water events, and I know my kids just want to jump right into those flood waters because, Dad, look at how cool it is. We have a pool in our backyard. And I remind them we never had a pool to begin with. So, keeping them out of there. And I'm guilty. I will say I grew up in a city where we had some water and we screwed around. And I look back at it now and think, man, I probably put myself in some risky business there.
Where I live, there's a park below us in the headwaters of a local river. I'm not going to say where or anything like that, but the park floods regularly. And my son is incredibly adventurous. So when he was younger, my wife would tell him, don't go in that floodwater because you'll grow a tail afterwards, right? To this day, he still talks about it. He's 21 years old now, and he sort of does what he wants to do, but we laugh about that often. The gist of that story is you never know what's in that water, right? It may have affected the sewer pipes. There may be bacteria in there that you just don't want to be in. There may be an undercurrent. There may be soft spots in the ground or grass that, are deeper than others. And, that water becomes a bigger hazard at that point. So I think the safe spot is to really just stay out of floodwaters.
Yeah. And I said, I'm not here to scare people, but I think it's those choices of these different scenarios, consequences of those. It could be nothing. It could be life ending. So I think it's important to share that out. I also asked you to comment if people do get water in their basement, it's just rushing in there. We're talking gallons and gallons of water. Do you rush into the basement?
Right.
What do you think about before entering that type of water? Because I'm thinking you just don't know if it's electrified. You don't know what's in it.
So that's the first concern that comes to my mind. We all have, tons of things in our basements, especially if our basement is finished. But even if it isn't, where water and electricity just don't play together all that well, right? Water is a great conductor of electricity, and none of us want to be on the receiving end of that conduction. So stay out of it if you can. I would say unless there's risk of structural collapse, you can certainly call 911, but there isn't much that we're going to be able to do for you. I would love to be able to say, we're going to come pump your basement out. But we just don't have the capacity to do that for everybody that might be getting water in their basement. So, toe the line, sort of hold it till it stops. The water stops coming in. Do as you can, right? If you have a sump pump, make sure that it's running. If you have other pumps and you can put them down there, that's great. But until that water stops coming in, you're really at a standstill.
Would you recommend calling your local electric company and gas company? Because my first two concerns is, what if the electrical box is in the basement and you can't get to that box? I mean, and same with gas too. I mean, I don't know what appliances could kick on, but just from that standpoint, anything advice there?
I would say certainly you could call them. Not having been in that situation myself and not having made that call, I'm not positive what they would tell you. But certainly they're going to tell you to err on the side of safety, just like I am, right? Stay away from the electrical. If there's a gas line down there, just use your nose, right? That's why they put the mercaptan in natural gas, so that we can smell it. So if you start to smell it, call right away.
All right. Finally, want to just comment on, again, not only have we seen a lot of rain this year, but we've also seen a lot of wind, tornado events too. And so just in general, post-storm and getting outside and checking for damage, you want to think twice before you do that, because you can't see. A lot of these storms do come at night, but danger-wise, a tree falls on your house, all those things. Just what would you tell somebody before they step outside and are assessing damage or not sure what had happened?
Sure. I'm going to go a step before that, and having a weather radio is really the best way to know what severe weather is coming your way. Should a tree fall in the house or something like that, especially in the dark, but at all times, I would say be incredibly cautious, right? Because that tree may shift, the structure may shift itself. Also, if there are any overhead lines, wires, there's no guarantee that those wires won't be electrified. And now you've exacerbated the problem, right? So, again, err on the side of safety. Make sure that, if a tree falls on your house and you can get out safely, go to a neighbor's house. Certainly call 911. But err always on the side of safety and don't try to jump in there and fix things that night, right?
Yeah. Ultimately, I think when it comes to any of the talk that we've had today, in general, I think, having an action plan together, and that's something that you had told us earlier this year, is just, like you said, being kind of prepared for these things. There's been a lot of close calls this year. I'm just going to throw it out there for a lot of people. I'm one that's had water in the basement already this year. I'm knocking on wood that it wasn't feet of water, but ultimately putting some plans together at this point and being prepared seems like the better play.
Yeah, there's absolutely no harm and almost no cost in thinking it through. What if? And having that plan. And to go back to my fire prevention training, if your kids are outside or if there's a chance that you and your kids might be separated, have a meeting place so that you all meet up. First things first, you want to make sure that you can count fingers and noses and make sure that they're all accounted for so that then you can start working on the other problem, right? So take care of the home base first.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if people have questions about any of the stuff we talked about today, you are one to pick the brain with, as I like to say, and pick your knowledge and kind of just to understand a little bit better. But if they have questions or anything, you're always open to answering those.
Yeah, always. Don't feel free to reach out. I'll answer the questions that I can, and the questions that I don't know, I'll get an answer for.
Yeah. I like having these conversations. So, all right. Well, I appreciate your time, sir. We'll check back in the next month.
Yeah, thank you.